Now for our museum moment. And today we're pleased to have Curtis from the Bakersfield Museum of Art in studio with us today. How are you today, Curtis?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it. First of all, before we get going with the lesson today, what do you do? Like, what's part of your role with the Museum of Art?
So I am the guest services supervisor as well as the venue coordinator. And typically what that entails is when people do actually get to come into the museum, I greet them, I make sure that they're knowledgeable about the museum, what they're seeing, any information that they need, I give that to them. As well as the venue coordination part is oftentimes people like to rent the museum for special events like weddings and things like that. And so I handle that portion as well.
All right, great. Well, I'm glad you're here today. You've got Son over there, and you guys ready? Take it away.
All right. Well, Son, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're ready to do a little bit of art today. In addition to the duties that I've already told you about, I also have become one of the content creators for the Bakersfield Museum of Art. So things that go up on our website, like educational videos and things like that, I assist with those and creating those. Since, of course, the museum is unfortunately closed down right now due to the pandemic, hopefully we'll be back open soon, but in the meantime, we've been doing a museum at home portion to our website, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. So, when you go to our website, you can select a category called Museum at Home, and this has 4 distinct categories in it, and it's going to offer a lot of different things. Our first category is From the Curator, which contains really fascinating insights into different artworks that we have, permanent collection pieces, different exhibits that we've had in the past. But Rachel and Melissa from the curatorial department do a really great job of talking about these really interesting things. Also interviews with artists in text as well as video format. Now, the Inspired by Our Permanent Collection is actually downloadable art projects. These are developed by our educational team, and it's really kind of a lot of things for all ages. However, at times some adult help can be required. In our third category, we have Color Art Collection. Now, these are really cool coloring sheets that you can download and print just from your computer, and they're really for all ages. It covers a lot of different subject matter from the museum and its permanent collection, but really fun stuff. And finally, we have our Art Projects for All Ages, which is the category that I'm the most connected to. That contains currently 33 different video art lessons that you can view on the website, as well as lessons for children ages 5 and under, and Spanish-speaking lessons as well. So a lot of good stuff on there. Now, before we get into our actual art project, I want to talk to you a little bit about an artist named Stephen Douglas. Now, Stephen Douglas is a longtime friend of the museum, and he's based out of Santa Monica, and he is a master portrait artist, as you can see on the image there. He does very detailed work of very special people who can get their portraits painted by him. This particular piece is entitled Martha, and as you can see, it is very detailed. I mean, if you look at the veins on her hands, it's very detailed. Her wrinkles in her clothing, the light on her face, you can see that this guy really has a great talent for what he does. Now, one of the reasons why it looks so realistic is not just because of those features that I listed, but also because of proportion. So the figure looks realistic because it has realistic proportions. It's not cartoonish or anything like that. And so what I want to talk to you about today is how to create a realistically proportioned human figure. And thank you so much, Soon, for helping me out with this.
Thank you.
And the first thing to note is that when we are drawing this figure, that we're going to actually be using the head as the kind of guide to create the body. And we can see that in our step 1. So the first thing we're going to want to do is grab our pencil and kind of put our pen off to the side. And our first kind of oval shape or head shape, we're going to make that a pretty good size, about the size of like a large grape or so. And if you can do that with me. And of course, this doesn't have
Oh
to be a
my.
perfect circle or anything like that. Oh, you all right?
Yes.
All right. It's the hazards of the job, I guess. So now, starting with that, we want to continue by actually doing 7 more of a similarly sized oval just down the line directly underneath.
Okay.
And we want to keep these as similar size as possible, but again, they don't have to be perfect, and this is just practice after all. And what we're really doing is just creating a tool for us to use, more of a guide for us to use as we actually create our figure. Because as we see, as we work through drawing our human figure, we'll see that the body is proportioned using these shapes. And just a light sketch. And we're going to be going over these later with some marker in just a few minutes, so don't worry about being too clean with it.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Got them?
Yes.
Okay. So you have 8 circles in a row?
Oh.
Oh, we got one more? All right.
Yes.
And then we'll move on to our second step, in which we're going to add 2 more circles at the very top, just on both sides of that top oval. And we want those to be about the same size as well.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So now that we have our guide in place, now we can move on to using our pen and actually sketching out our human figure.
Okay.
So the first thing we'll want to do is this top middle oval. We're going to use this as our head, so we can go ahead and just color this in black, or outline it, don't necessarily color it in. And this will represent our head.
Okay.
All right. Now, the next portion, of course, what we want is a neck to connect the head. And that neck is going to extend down about halfway through that other oval, or that next oval. Very good. Then, of course, we want shoulders. And those shoulders are going to extend out to the edge of those outer ovals.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we can do the arms. Now the arms are going to extend for about 3 ovals. Now we're starting off in the half point of this oval.
Yeah.
So we'll need to count down. We'll need to count down half, 1.5, 2.5, and finally 3.5. And those are the lengths of the arms.
Okay.
Very good. Now everybody is, of course, formed differently, so if your person looks a little bit different than mine, that's completely okay, because that's what it is in real life. So now we can move on to the interior. So we can move on to our torso,
Yeah.
and our torso is actually going to start out right at the edge of that line and about in the middle of those 2 top ovals. And we can just draw those for 2 ovals long.
Oh.
Very good, yeah. And then the interior of the arm, if you have room for it, will just kind of extend out from there and just a long parallel to the outer shape of the arm.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So then we're going to move on to our next step in creating some legs. So of course, we have this point right here at the edge of our torso. That's of course our waist, and so we are going to extend down 3.5 more ovals and create some legs. And we can have those just kind of spread out just a little bit. leave room for some feet.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Okay, so moving forward, about the halfway mark, about right there, we'll want to continue with the interior of the leg.
Okay.
And just kind of go ahead and do the inside. And then to complete him, we can do the feet by just drawing a couple of diagonal lines extending out to the edge of those top circles and connecting to the bottom, just with a nice curved line. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So you can see that everything is proportioned off of the head. And if we look at the diagram, we can see that everything on the numbers on the right side add up to 8 ovals. And then coming back to Martha, we can see that using the shape of her head, it adds up to 8 ovals as well. So if you do the math, of course, it is structurally or proportionally correct. Just to mention, our upcoming exhibition of Color and Figure, paintings by Linda Christensen, is coming up soon, January 28th. And while we may not be open during that time, the digital presentation will be February 11th. So keep an eye on our website for that offering. And thank you so much.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got the website down at the bottom right there, so
Yeah,
people can
absolutely.
go there and check out some more things. Also, thank you very much about the date February 11th coming up, because that is something that you guys can mark on your calendar and check out that presentation. Beautiful lesson right there. And I do remember we did a problem one time where we wanted to find the actual size of a person. And I think I said the head is 1/8 of the actual size. Mm-hmm. And that goes to show exactly where you had those 8 ovals and the head was 1/8 of it. And if you know the size of that, you can figure out the size of the entire person. All right.
Absolutely.
So nicely done. Curtis, thank you very much for coming in this afternoon.
Thank
and
you so much.
son, learned a little bit about the human body and how to draw and things like that and how proportion works. And that is today's museum moment. We'll be back with more right after this.